They see this as a really interesting way to innovate and a good model to use, where they can have inspired and driven individuals working in an extremely agile way, not encumbered by the big business way of doing things.
Hi, welcome back to the Teams Insider podcast. This week we have Mark Herbert, and we're looking at Teams Phone and mainly what's going on in SMB and Midmarket and how partners can help customers get to Teams Phone, but also some of the manageability challenges. I talked to Mark Herbert, who was one of the founders of the company that created Call to Teams, which is a service that connects SIP trunks into Teams, was very popular with some of the UCaaS vendors. We talk a little bit about his journey and also his current solution, which is Haptap Call Manager, which is a management interface for Teams Phone aimed at partners managing multiple customers. So really thinking about the kind of partner that is managing lots and lots of customers with Teams Phone. Really interesting insights from Mark. Thanks for his time and hope you enjoy the show. Hi, and welcome back to the Teams Insider podcast. This week, first time guest on the pod, but someone I've spoken to quite a lot over the years in terms of Teams and Teams integrations in various roles. Mark, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, great to be here, Tom. Yes, first timer on the Tom Arbuthnot podcast, but looking forward to it today.
Awesome. So Mark, for people who don't know you, give us a little bit of a kind of background, and the current role is now changing, so let's talk about that as well, but like the journey story for you of kind of coming into the Teams world.
Yeah, so we've been in the Teams world a long time. I mean, many people may have heard of a product called Call to Teams, which is a Dstny integration, very powerful and extremely successful, and I was part of the founding team which created that along with Richard and Martin. And yes, we as three have come together really to talk about and create a new offering within the Dstny kind of umbrella. But this is what we're here to talk about today, which is Haptap Call Manager.
Awesome. So let's go back to Call to Teams, because that was kind of bringing together the UCaaS like kind of players and the Teams world at the time, and maybe talk through that, because it seemed like it hit a point in time as well where everybody was suddenly getting on the Teams and Teams Phone bandwagon. Yeah,
I mean, it solved a problem really, because everyone needed to be on Teams, but also needed to keep using their existing phone platform. So it solved the problem of bridging an existing phone service onto Teams and delivering the Teams end user experience, but without having to rip and replace your existing phone platform. So yeah, it experienced good growth, like I say, during COVID, and continues to do today. I mean, it is still a valuable product for our customers, and it's doing a good job, certainly in the sort of coexistence space where customers want to use Teams, but they're not quite ready to get rid of their old service, or there's features on the old service they continue to need to use. So it's a really valuable addition to as an integration to sort of telecommunications within the Teams ecosystem.
Nice. And you built that, and then that got acquired by Dstny, and that's how you came into Dstny Group, is that right?
That's correct, yes. Yeah, I mean, we met Dstny, when was it? I can't remember, 2021, I think. And we came together, really. They're a very sort of innovation-centric group, and they saw the value of Call to Teams and how it matched within their portfolio, and they brought us in. They're a great company to be with, really, some lovely people.
Awesome. And part of your role back then and now is kind of keeping an eye on what's going on in this kind of almost kind of new world and traditional telco world and everything in the middle, both from a partner point of view and from a customer point of view. So what are you seeing at the moment in terms of Teams Phone and migration and traditional phone? Like it's still quite an evolving space, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's still quite a lot of different dynamics at play. I think Teams Phone is obviously growing at a pace and becoming fairly dominant, certainly as Microsoft's additional workloads come into play, things like Copilot and so on. They're really pulling customers into Teams more. And obviously customers want to maximize their usage of the Microsoft sort of tool set.
Yeah, I'm having the first conversations now with enterprise customers where they've gone down the Copilot route and they're a few thousand seats in, and that has boosted the phone conversation. So it's like, we need to, the Copilot is the bigger spend. So it's like we're on the Copilot journey. We really just need to get phone over here, because then it's all one story as far as where the data and transcription goes. So it's interesting to see that conversation come up for the first time. And I think it's because of the scale of the push on Copilot and AI. Part of the value is all your data in one place, so that actually pulls through the phone conversation in some cases.
Yeah, and I think it was almost as if we saw Microsoft take the foot off the gas on phone about a year ago and concentrate on AI. Actually, it was quite a clever plan, because what they're doing is creating the pull factor now to drive the take up. So some an interesting take on it.
And you've got an interesting perspective, because I spend most of my times with enterprise customers, but you've actually got a range of customers and customer sizes, and actually kind of SMB mid-market, that's always been more challenging for Microsoft. Like, they dominate in the enterprise, but it's much more competitive at that kind of SMB mid-market end. It
is, and I think they're reliant on the channel heavily for this. So, and with an SMB and phone, certainly it's a relatively small opportunity size for a partner. And how do they justify the cost and the time to set that customer up? Many of the channel are IT focused. They don't really know voice stuff. So, and many of the voice channel don't really know Microsoft. And that's always been the case up to now. I think we're seeing a much more of a convergence. And really, that was one of the drivers for creating the Haptap call manager service, which really is about enabling the rapid and simple activation of SMB and listening to the Operator Connect community. That was always a big challenge for them. They can easily sell 5 or 10 numbers to a customer, but then what? Almost created a problem. What does the customer do next? And for a small business, how can they possibly afford to spend the time setting that customer up? If it's a large enterprise, of course they can. But
that's the challenge, isn't it? Like, in a large enterprise, there's some budget for like ProServe, managed service, or there's an in-house team, so there's FTEs looking after the service, assigning the phone numbers, managing the policies. As you scale that down, it tends to be on the customer side, it's more of a generalist. Like, maybe they have someone who knows a bit about Teams, doesn't know inside out, but by the same token, they're not looking to pay thousands and thousands for a managed service wrap to manage 50 users on phone. They just need the occasional move out and change. They need a bit of advice. They need an auto attendant set up. So as you say, it's trying to find that sweet spot of how do you scale. And this has been something that Microsoft have been looking at, particularly with SMB, is like the service in theory is great for them, because they've got probably business premium. If they're below 300 seats, they've got a great stack of things. They can add phone into that. But as you said, the phone-centric channel is going to cut their margin and up their complexity, and the IT-centric channel doesn't necessarily understand voice, but it feels like voice has got so much easier with the advent of OC and stuff like that. So then it's manageability, which is where this solution you put together comes in, is how do we help like partners or potentially again customers manage in a more kind of phone-centric way, I guess.
Yeah. And it's generally focused at the partner, although it's a great end customer tool. I think customers really, they don't wake up in the morning and say, I need a great tool to manage my Teams phone. They go to their partner and say, can you help me configure Teams phone? So really, this is something which does work for customers, but it's brilliant for the partner channel in terms of how do they manage multiple customers and just do the Teams phone thing, especially if they are a traditional telephony partner who doesn't really understand all the Microsoft stuff. What we've done is really bring together the control system or control panel of a PBX, which is effectively Teams phone underneath, but it's a very familiar environment for someone who's used to just managing a PBX system.
Nice. So essentially a phone-centric UI of manageability, but the ability to also kind of manage across multiple tenants and have a single experience for the. So if you're a person at a partner managing 50 customers and you just need to move ads and change phone numbers, you don't have to go to that like, I need to have a different browser profile, have a local account, or deal with the kind of the account sharing stuff, which the customer doesn't understand and the partner doesn't understand. Maybe you could take us through like what it looks like and how it works.
Sure. I think, shall we switch into a demo? Is that what you'd like?
Yeah. If you want to share, okay. We'll have people on audio as well, so maybe we can talk it through as well. But let's have a look. And I'm interested in the API and the how it works side as well, because that's it's quite a challenge to have something partner side work with multiple customers.
Yes, and that was obviously one of our challenges. And with our experience around dealing with multiple customer tenants at scale, this is expertise we have. So, I'll share the screen now just so we can see. So what I'm going to show you here is a typical, the entry point for a partner where they can see their customers. So using this service, we can manage multiple customers through one screen, and you can create new customers quite easily.
So this is web-based, so you're running it as a service for the partner, so it's you hosted like as a SaaS, basically?
Absolutely, yes. Complete SaaS. All they need is a Microsoft ID to log into this. So within the partner, they would use their own Entra ID to log into this platform, and for all of their individual users, so they can control which of their staff members get access to this particular portal to manage the customer. And what we'll see is that we can go and manage customer services within Teams Phone, but we don't need to actually log into their Teams Admin Center and so on. So that's the sort of power we've built here, I think. So at this level, we can see that we have a list of customers, and we can see whether they've got services attached. It also gives us the option to add a new customer and so on. So it's quite easy for a partner to simply add all their customers or create a new one as they, if they bring on a new customer. So if we look at the top customer here, we'll go and see which services they have, and we can see listed here is the first service, which is the Call Manager service. Now we've got a plan to have several services, but our first one is the Call Manager one. And the important button here, and the magic, is where we access the service. So if when I click this button, it opens a new tab and effectively then goes, it just confirms my ID, and then goes into the customer tenant and pulls the configuration from Teams. Now, we try to hold as little information as possible in our platform. We do hold some data, and we have multi-region asset instances of the platform. So in this case, it's the EU instance, but we've got North America, and we'll bring another Azure regions on as well.
So the customer has pre-auth your application on their side to say it can make Graph API calls to get the relevant data, to set relevant data if needed. So the customer clicks some kind of, I agree, this partner can use this tool. And at this point now, on one side, I'm logged in as a partner user. It's using Graph to get through to Teams, pool, numbers, config, whatever it may be.
That's it, correct. Yeah. So when you create a new customer, you effectively email them a link, and they click on the link, and it opens a browser, and they accept that. They grant access to our app, really, to go and manage their tenant for them. So they provided that permission. And the result of that is that now, as a partner, I can see the customer's phone and service config. And along the left here is a relatively simplified view of Teams Phone. So it brings all the key points to the surface, like call flows and users and groups, as well as number management. But it's all in one place. Like if you were looking at a PBX, you'd expect to see these menu items there as well. So we've really tried to make just a PBX control panel for Teams Phone. And you don't get access to anything else. So from a customer sort of security concern perspective, they're not granting their partner access to anything other than the Teams Phone configuration elements on this. So what we have here is, this is a new customer. So we've just put a new customer in. We've sent them some numbers. They're ready to go, and
that's sending the numbers is out of band of this. So they might be using OC, and the numbers will also appear on tenant. They might be using direct routing, in which case they could do the old CSV upload model or whatever it may be. But like this is augmenting that already existing process.
Yes, I mean, calling plans and OC, obviously the numbers go straight to the tenant. For direct routing, we have a fairly comprehensive API, which we can integrate with a DR provider, so that it will effectively pull the numbers across as soon as they're provisioned on their side.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. So that's something we've worked on, because obviously there's still a lot more direct routing partners than there are OC partners, so we need to really simplify that journey for them. So as a customer, as a partner now, I want to set my customer up. And so you're probably on a call with them whilst you do this, but this is kind of how long it's going to take to configure the customer's kind of initial call flow to get them up and running on Teams Phone. So we're going to set up our first number here. We do a few pre-flight checks. We check things like the customer's got resource accounts. We do actually create the resource accounts during our initial setup, so they don't have to go and create any of that stuff. Check they got licensing and permissions.
Nice. So that's another thing that like often And the partner will be talking to the customer, and the the contact on the customer side doesn't quite understand if they've got licensing or not, and the partner doesn't really understand how licensing works. So the fact that you can just do those checks and give flags is really useful.
Yeah, and also we do actually fix that in advance as well when they do the initial setup. So having that done, we'll just create what was probably their main number now. So we'll give it a name of main number, and we'll choose one of the phone numbers we've given them. So here's a list of numbers from actually calling plans, which are in the tenant. And so we'll choose one of those for the customer and as their main number. And then we go ahead and actually set up their incoming call disposition. So effectively, a customer would want to possibly route calls differently during office hours, out of hours, and public holidays. So we allow them to set effectively that on this panel. So this sets the office hours, and we can see sort of regular 9 to 5:30 there. But maybe this customer's open on a Saturday, so we can easily add in an extra kind of open hours option there. And in terms of their holidays, then we select which country they're in, and then we auto configure the public holidays into the tenant, and that's often quite a big piece of work. So for this one, we might say that in the United States they're not going to have 4th of July off, because that's the day we're recording this, and why should they have the day off when we don't? So that's then we're going to make sure that they're open on 4th of July, and click next. So that's created effectively the 3 dispositions are open hours, closed hours, holidays now. So for open hours, we will now set the call flows. So we're going to set a relatively straightforward call flow. First thing we're going to do here is have a greeting. I'm going to use the text-to-speech within Teams. I'm going to put a short message in. Welcome to my company. And then that's that. Then the next thing, once the greeting is, we want to put the call into a call group. So we might say ring a group, and then we're going to choose the sales group. Now we bring across multiple groups from the customer tenant. The various. Well, we'll go into groups in a minute.
Yeah, but this is the same. This is call queues and auto attendance, but you've just made a really simple one-page UI to kind of do that config and reconfig essentially.
Exactly that. Yeah. So we'll add in the sales and marketing group, and then we'll also cascade to maybe the operations group if they don't answer. So there we've created cascading call groups in Teams in like 3 seconds, which is a non-trivial task, I think, if you had to do it.
It's only about 70 lines of PowerShell, I think.
Yeah. So at this point, if maybe we'll put it through to the executives if they don't answer. So we've got 3 cascading call groups, and you can vary the various sort of.
Like the visualization, that's cool.
Visualization, yeah. So we make it very friendly to use. And then the final action, I guess, is go through to the voicemail of maybe the sales group if no one's answered by then. So that's created now a reasonable call flow for the customer. We'll press the button to complete. And effectively now the customer's on the air. They're using Teams phone. They've got the main number configured. It's cascading around the business to various users to manage that. Other than that, now we may just go and add some DIDs to a user. So we might go and choose someone like Christy. Has Christy got on? No, she hasn't. Let's choose one with a license. So we've got various status here to say whether they've got a license and whether they're enterprise voice enabled and so on. So for someone like Deborah, we could just go and set a number as well. So.
Yeah, so classic moves, adds and changes stuff is just making it simpler. And if you're maybe you're an IT-centric partner and it's just a ticket, it's like new starter, please give them a phone number.
Yeah.
That kind of thing becomes like a couple of clicks rather than having to go into their tenant, like work it all around and come back out again.
Yeah. So there we can choose a number for Deborah, and then we click go, and she would have that number. I think I can see she hasn't got a calling plan, so I can't assign that. Anyway, but yeah, so you can see what licensing they have. You can assign numbers at that point. We can also then go and say manage the existing call flow. So we've got a concept of the wizard call flow. Now that thing I showed you where we set up the main number, that we call that wizard call flow because it's quite a macro kind of setup. But we do also allow you to manage the underlying auto attendance and queues there as well. So if the customer does have an existing configuration, then you can manage that here. So you can just go and manage the.
And there's presumably no hard dependency here on the partner being the telco, because presumably they might have different telcos in different regions, different agreements. Like you're just configuring Teams, really.
Yeah, I mean, this is tenant level access, and I'll quickly show you here where if you want to, you can actually add in extra users. So the customer themselves could invite their phone guys in straight to the portal to manage this.
Yeah, I think there's value in that for a customer to be, maybe some cases they can do their own. The partner can add some value by offering this to the customer to do as well if they're a very phone centric admin.
That's it. We also do a sort of a single number management portal as well, so you can just see where all the numbers are, who they're assigned to, and do various things like unassign them from a user if you wanted to, and things like that. So you can go from the numbers aspect rather than the users aspect. Call login is quite interesting. Now, Teams call login is somewhat complex to get to, but we have really surfaced that in a simple way, so that if you're an administrator and you want to go and look at what calls have been made, or if you've had a problem call, for example, then you can open up a call information dialog here, which shows you the various kind of route of the call around the business. Also show, if you want to go and look at some of the complex stuff, we do the full sort of JSON there as well. But this allows you quite simply to view a call. Now, if that call was a problem call, maybe you had like one-way audio or something, you want to report it, then at the click of a button, you can actually report that and send it directly in an email to your to your provider. And then that'll pop that into an email. It's got the important call ID here, which is nice. What everyone needs. So that's all sorted. You're ready to go.
And does this have a concept of knowing what the user at the partner has done? Something when we used to do a lot of managed service was like plausible deniability of who, because the problem is the customer has admin and the partner has admin. Something gets reconfigured. There's always a bit of a who did it, and was it the company? Was it the customer in Australia at 3 a.m. UK time, or was it the partner doing it? That kind of thing.
A very good point. Now, everything we do in this portal is completely logged. So we have a full log transaction of every moves, adds and change, which we do here. We are bringing in kind of a new module, which is to do with configuration management, so that you will be able to have regular snapshots of the customer's Teams phone config. You can roll back. Also, when you log in, you can see if there's any changes, and it will show you the delta as well as to what's changed against your last login. So as a managed service provider, you could log in and say, when I logged in, I saw you changed all these things,
Nice.
So we will.
I want that, but as an automated email to me and the customers, just be like, FYI, we're aware you've assigned a bunch of new numbers, or you removed a bunch of new numbers, or whatever. That would be really nice. Yeah,
those sorts of things. So that's kind of in development at the moment. So obviously we're looking for great ideas, but certainly fundamentally having some configuration management with rollback, we'll see that as important. So if you had to change something for a weekend, maybe you had a building move or something, then you could change something, and on the next week you could just roll it back to the previous config, things like that. So
nice. And Haptap is outside of Dstny, but Dstny are involved in backing it. How's that work?
Yeah, so Dstny, we're looking for ways to build innovation within the group. And so, Martin, Richard and I went to them and said, we've got this great idea. It needs to be done really quickly, and the best way to do that is in kind of the body of a small business. It needs to be done like an entrepreneurial startup. And they said, well, that's a really interesting kind of approach to do this. And so effectively, this is a startup business we're running, but it's also backed by Dstny. They have a stake in the business. So they see this as a really interesting way to innovate and a good model to use, where they can have inspired and driven individuals working in an extremely agile way, and not encumbered by sort of the big business way of doing things. Also, set up with its own mission as well. So it's from that perspective, we're really enjoying the way that Dstny have taken a view on that. I think it's a very supportive view to be like, yes, you can move faster at the innovation stage if it's its own entity. Yeah.
And for partners who might be interested in this, what are you thinking in terms of commercial model? Like, is it per customer managed, per user, like fixed cost? What are you thinking for that?
That's a good question. We're going through some evolution on pricing, I think we could fairly say. I think what we're heading towards is almost an all-you-can-eat model. I think that's what we want, is for the partners to give this to everybody. We don't want to put any barriers in the way of...
Yeah, the value to the partner is the same experience every time, right? Because that's their training overhead and their manageability overhead. If only a percentage of them are on it, you've still got the challenge on the other percentage.
Yeah, so we're looking for a combination of, it's obviously... it has to have some relation to the number of users under management, but ideally we want them to not have any barriers to just giving this to everybody. So yeah, we're looking at that. So watch this space. But I think in the next week or two, we will have that really nailed down as a partner offer.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking it through that. It's really interesting. This is a space I'm watching as we go into the new Microsoft FY. There's a bit more focus on SMB and mid-market as a growth area. And it's an area for Teams Phone where the people who use phone in that space really, really use and need phone. Like, it's not going anywhere. It's a core business requirement. So, keep us up to date, Mark, on how that's going and what you're seeing in that space. And maybe we'll talk in the future.
I'd love to. Thanks, Tom.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.